for ne ahwefo yema obi bia akwaba sonko edoba daily update TV so hana ba benya trending news ekoso Ghana man nyina. Yes, so say any day new book kwan so and any day di kan oba be subscribe to our channel na afin so or adwinchi bia betim dia ba comment section or ye ni bitima chi ba afin so e ma we fi so be share ma adam fana nia so nyi bia hwe. Yes, we go straight to our major issue. Office of the Special Prosecutor no Kesi Jabe no den maybe go abontin a emu ohye wa ma court for judges for no shake in fears because in him say court for no so 10,000 Ghana cedis own tia or say or bringing group or prosecutor man for or investigator man for no enti sign sem no the back court no on court from say enya no kre la bianca won sem near the enya no kre near the sem be na PPI say o ma say o ma sign dante OSP say onja ne prosecution na we no krampo no or like all prosecutor man for near the no ama court for na judges for no I just gave your man is and only 10,000 Ghana cedis as a miss kaketwa. We didn't say about one thing. I brought Casano can say or fire court for no can say we no can see me. I quote or say people acquire property through corruption. That's a Benjamin for be and as a politics for be and as MP for be. They acquire property through corruption. Now, once sit down for this to happen, we have office of the special prosecutor, a normal small worker. It's become all snow seekers on any break. I only good in some P. or Baba and Timbekai. A brown worker, I'm afraid some count brown workers and I can say a year public officer be now or cars near the small cars. I bet so you can put him to toss our cars with bin. And all this cover a lot of cars near that day. In the OSP or investigate some matter no and judges for the own judges and some neka. And they say no judges for the come at some day. A quack say so be cry kum nipa and also be bokrono crampo na am medrano and as a crow no. Judiciary crampona. Judges for another court for no. Dias mama the pakro yes so come ni po so we and you media masani pakro you see omu intante office of the special prosecutor no that is Kesi Jabe no omu intante no we didn't see beto dwe mo hye so come ho ni nkuti in say my office of the special prosecutor Kesi Jabe the beto dwa ye ba nya to enkomo twetwe ne so so me nkuti no.
I will be the last person to head and lead an institution to attack the judiciary. It will be absolutely of no good and utility should it be the case that the OSP is set against the judiciary or that the judiciary is against the OSP. That will surely spell disastrous consequences for this republic, especially in the fight against corruption, to the unending glee of corrupt persons. The OSP will not countenance for a moment such an impression. What we do is a statement of our position on judicial pronouncements in the context of the fight against corruption and whether it benefits the quest against corruption or otherwise. And this is so whether the judicial decision in question is favorable to the OSP or not. And to the well-meaning lawyers who call to admonish me, I always assure them that I do not believe that our judges see themselves as above criticism. Indeed, I vividly recollect when years ago, as a private practitioner, a justice of the Supreme Court softly chastised me in open court that I was not churning out enough published articles in critique of their work, because I was a lecturer at the University of Ghana. The judge added that criticism of judicial pronouncements was essential in guiding judges, and he fondly recollected the regular publications of old in the University of Ghana Law Journal and the Review of Ghana Law. I reckoned the judge's observation with admiration. Collectively with the well-meaning lawyers who admonish me, we philosophize and wonder if our judges would do such a thing as gang up against the flagship public anti-corruption agency to scuttle its work for whatever reason. Our musings ran along the lines of, would that not defeat the fight against corruption? Will that not put our young democracy in danger? Will the judges not stultify themselves in the process? We always end with an open-ended sigh. Sometimes a sigh of relief, sometimes a sigh of concern. That may that never be the case. And personally, I do not believe that our judges will ever adopt such a dystopian stance. However, members of the press, there appears to be a developing trend of rather regressive and dismissive judicial decisions in respect of cases involving the OSP, with troubling consequences. And it seems to us that a careful examination of these outcomes portends a disturbing specter that the fight against corruption is being hampered to the disbenefit of us all. And I do not say these things lightly. 4 instances will suffice. In one case, the OSP applied to the High Court for a confirmation of a freezing order in respect of a deceased person's estate. The judge refused to confirm the order by, in effect, holding that the OSP had come too late since the person of interest had died, and that his death had extinguished the inquiry commenced after the occurrence of death. We publicly commented on this outcome, and the danger of this outcome is obvious, members of the press. It is to the effect that a person may, in his lifetime, acquire property through corruption, and then upon his demise, happily pass on the corruptly acquired property to his estate, and by so doing, extinguish all scrutiny as to the propriety or otherwise of the acquisition of the property, because his corrupt activities were not discovered during his lifetime. In the second instance, the OSP had declared as wanted a person it believed to be a fugitive from justice. The person, through his lawyer, proceeded to the Human Rights Court on an ex parte application, and the judge, without even an inquiry as to why the OSP believed him to be a fugitive from justice, issued an injunction that the OSP should not arrest the person for a period of 10 days. Members of the press, this is dangerous. It encourages criminal suspects to go before the courts to seek injunction orders against law enforcement agencies from apprehending them. The judge did not adverse his mind to the well-founded proposition that no one has the right not to be arrested, and he accorded the suspect a right not to be arrested. In the third instance, the OSP applied to the High Court for a confirmation of a seizure order and a freezing order in respect of a person who had just resigned from a ministerial position and had reported that large cash sums in foreign denominations had been stolen from her residence. In addition, the OSP subsequently discovered additional large cash sums in foreign denominations and cedis still stashed in her residence. The judge hastily dismissed the OSP's application and ordered a return of the seized amounts and the defreezing of her property, and he proceeded to lash out at the OSP for not doing a thorough investigation, without the slightest consideration that the seizure and freezing orders are designed by law to facilitate investigation into the affairs of suspects, and not the other way around, of requiring thorough investigations before the OSP can seize or freeze. The judge also completely ignored the fact that in almost every jurisdiction, including Ghana, it is extremely unusual and highly suspicious for a public officer to have such large cash sums stashed in their homes, and that the circumstances of the case dictated pause and reflection and the granting of the OSP adequate time to carry out its investigation. In our estimation, the judge was only interested in the return of the money to the person of interest and nothing more. Then he proceeded to erect non-existent legal barriers to prevent the OSP from investigating the matter. I'll revisit this case. Members of the press, in the fourth instance, the OSP had issued an investigation report in respect of the grant of a customs advance ruling by the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority. The report opined that there was an institutionalized culture of light-hearted unconcern regarding impropriety of action at the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority, which indicated a high propensity to engender corruption and corruption-related activities. Consequently, the Special Prosecutor directed the opening of a wider investigation in respect of the affairs of the Customs Division. Further, in pursuance of the office's mandate of taking steps to prevent corruption, the Special Prosecutor directed remedial action by Ghana Revenue Authority. The authority has instituted processes on the basis of the Special Prosecutor's directive, which has saved the nation substantial revenue. Then comes the problem. The affected customs officials proceeded to the High Court to challenge the work of the OSP. The judge accused the OSP of constituting itself into a court and a commission of inquiry by making findings. In doing so, the judge conveniently shut his eyes to an express statutory provision that the OSP has the mandate to publish detected acts of corruption, and that was exactly what the OSP had done in the report. I wish it had ended there, but worse. The judge then proceeded to prohibit the OSP from further investigating the affected persons. Members of the press, the judge fell into the grievous fault of what he accused the OSP of by outlandishly going beyond his jurisdiction with a purported clothing of the affected persons with immunity from investigation and hence immunity from prosecution. Members of the press, the duty and mandate of the courts is to apply and enforce the laws of the Republic, and not to grant persons immunity from criminal investigations and prosecution. A court cannot injunct the OSP from investigating or prosecuting any person. The decision to investigate and prosecute lies with the investigation and prosecution authorities, such as the OSP, and the OSP has at all material times carried out its power to investigate with candor and professionalism, being minded of the rights of suspects under its investigation. Members of the press, just as it is essential that anyone accused of a crime should have free access to the courts so that he may be duly acquitted if found not guilty of the offense with which he or she is charged, it is also of the utmost importance that the judiciary should not interfere with investigation and prosecution authorities in respect of matters which are within their statutory powers. It will be gravely inimical to public policy, the fight against corruption, and the administration of justice if the court stepped into this arena to decide who should be investigated, who should be prosecuted, and who should not. That is not the function of adjudication. The danger of this startling decision is again quite obvious. A judge has in the process granted two persons immunity from investigation, and in effect immunity from prosecution. This decision opens up a calamitous deluge, as every person under criminal investigation will be encouraged to take out suits to injunct investigation and prosecution bodies from investigating and prosecuting them. Indeed, there is a live case involving the OSP now, in which someone has taken the cue to seek to injunct the OSP from investigating them. The real and present danger looms largely on the consideration that by so doing, persons under investigation would end up conscripting the judiciary to clothe them with immunity from investigation and prosecution. Members of the press, I do not intend to sound as though I am predicting doom, but we are facing doom. And this is it. With this development, it will not be long. A suspected murderer or armed robber would boldly walk to court with the unthinkable prayer that the court should injunct law enforcement agencies from investigating him. We are not suggesting that the OSP does not make mistakes. We are not suggesting that
the last time biafra now be say number on frame bi and obi a otie ne bia no we nipa a odwene o man ho arebe ho enti 4 cases no bobo so Charles Bisi wonu awonto Professor Fimpo Boatin sa galamse report wo de bae no we invite Professor Fimpo Boatin later we say
yema kozo organo if you say my CC in semi office of special prosecutor kind and so kasa in deep pain sami hono kasa in deep pain and like the near breathe pan no kasa yes am yanko yensem so next audio no and next audio no na na major kon eka bia fa na da ne Liza abai we omo person mo sa baby mo no adan say utim the Ghana card kwojika Ghana card with him the loan. Look, he has the one go for in intro. That Ghana card. Well, say a day, tower a year almost say, but me introduce a Ghana card no. A day when your company introduces Hadeno, conform pens no card on base Hadeno. A Ghana card no company, GM na the buy. No, only in the haste, like only in the pressures of person who is Hadeno. And senior mind by an gigi no coesadio. And on a year or by one can say 1 Ghana card is more than 1,000 interchanges. No wonder say all promising amount for say Sa Ghana card no beating our koji cars between our koji see. So them prominent could see a nana I might talk on your banyan to uncommon.
Na saka bobo yaka ya oma kwava ho aye na isaka we ya de ama obi 4 years 110,000 1.1 billion wo twa 4 years saka we enu 2 years na njiriga na nsaye and then people have the guts the audacity say ya mani bibie di ya tona adwere ya tona nyansa ya tona enumonyam enipa wo Ghana ha owu mema bi otete TV ni radio so a fefefe kama but omo to wo mu nyansa to wo madwena to wo enumonyam e de agisika enti ade to akotene TV ni radio so akoye dede aka say because of Ghana card digital address intino obi akwakonya we compare saka tantan we saka we 210,000 4 years 1.1 billion 4 years na saka we obetua 4 years be wie no na car no da so ye car senya baumia bad policies taxes ahodo exchange rate ya enka tete no 2015 2016 enka saka we ye dia ma we compare 50,000 enka ye dia ma we compare abo so asenya exchange rate do ma time no a na $1 ya 4 cedis na ya 3 cedis 80 pesos ya mkeka 4 cedis kwa na mintiase eye 2017 one mun buy what do everyone say 4 cedis na euro kura ya bese 4 cedis 30 pesos no mun ya de ade no enka saka we any taxes no mun ya na ya flexible mu ene mamu deda ho no mun a na tema ha bo no mun no e ho no mabunka mu afa so a ya kwa ya ba ne saka we ya de ma wa buru so kura ya se de bu kura no eye 50,000. But today, because of bad policies, yeah, Baumia and Dr. Baumia, yeah, head economic management team, Tino, on to me stabilize Ghana, ye city, ye currency, hata ya fun basa. It is Saka Funtan Tawe ya, Saka Mbu ye name Mabontinsui, ya demo will be 4 years. 110,000 1.1 billion na dia chese say what to wadu woni munyan sentino ejimi fo na aka na omudi wo machino wo ka hu bi ntino wo kwa akwatena wono mo justify say obi the Ghana card akwaje we campaign can you imagine Entimude munsu nyansa kakra kwa. Se munsem keka no how stupidity ya motie. Because sometimes obedient TV so now
running promo say getting red be enam krum no so call okoya mbisa niema mienu the digital address and the Ghana card and to provide here and no coffee or one and the friend say obi no opi na campaign no enkrofo na aba nti omo di digital address next be verify baby awote to mo find the Ghana card or say ho no mo say the next day omra okoya omo card ni oksafo ni jinafako no say how on fan saying yes car no nie osafo ni car no 110 Ghana cedis, which is 1.1 billion old cedis. Now mum obetuan within 4 years 110,000 which obetuan that's 1.1 billion old cedis. Just in patrol obetumi de abranche na banene dinkomo
collateral kwa ansana wakwa koje o driver obeko company ni ho ye be take wo particulars wa identity card. That time na your voters ID card ye beje. Who is your next of kin? You better take your address. You do be for process nim. Bibia ye intact, bibia ye genuine. O qualify ya. Come for the car. Sabre no na eye car papa na de ma wo. Enye kan book itwa we ya. Eni ne nam car kwa na sa car we ya da ho no ye ne nam krom ha ya. Se nya memwo funny bad policies are. From taxation to industrialization. Yes, I say taxes e bun come there for your so asaka we. We sure the seni na Ghana nim e the saka we mano 1.1 billion and then when you enye wani wu enye wa wureho presenter journalist enye wa homete enye wani wu enye wo fere. So what you want no more can say Dr. Baumia ka Ghana card asema Ghana card e ma no na yenji loan wo Ghana ha na yenji mama kwane nda so mame na yenji credit facility wo Ghana ha Dr. Baumia na de work and pay aba wotina ase ade chi ye ya wo ka Dr. Baumia nim ni enwonyam bia ni hu wo ne political career e hu wo Ghana Dr. Baumia ni enwonyam kitikiti kura wo Ghana ha and kadren can me expect the free who say mudeja damage control na say moye because Dr. Bamia atichemu woda tichem bola so and woda ne why your time ne wan si ema Ghana for it will damage control adren can me expect wo ho ne say 2020 Dr. Bamia she okada for bo okada riders for bo say John Mahama so be legalize okada operation and Dr. Bamia she okada for bo say after 2020 elections no bra okada no pakesi baby fabeje car eti ade Ghana for expected dey free hu ne say mudi ma fu no ma adwene age sikai ma fu krom journalist fo a mutine TV ni radio so bi hu say mo ye stupid munyusu ma adwene no munyusu ma adwene muti TV ni radio so a mama ni panya because mo niam mo ye no mama ni pa hu how stupid you people mo de ye adwuma adwene mo de ye adwuma wa ha sei mi si ni pa bi na de omo muti ade a muti radio so ni TV so a omo ye adwuma nko from how stupid they are no Ghana fo hu ye enti mo ne sade a chi ye ya wo kan no o se Dr. Baumia adwuma da Roma digitalization ya former president John Mahama Dr. Edward Mane bo amamo fellas kwacho ofusumu ye ne wode bo ne ho asafo hini ene Ghana card ntino okada riders for na waka wo magu baabi okada riders ene munie 2021 Dr. Baumia fulfilling the promises no maka no ye Dr. Baumia ni o ye Dr. Baumia share ye bo say okada na ye atwie no etwitwa ye nan ekunkum nipa enu enti no say they were my cars after 2021 after 2020 2021 aircon cars ya wo mo dey replace okada adwuma no enie yes ene na ne yam say oh ye damage
fa e two audios ni fa e OSP ni kasa o kan ene eye de to aso no nyana ma eja konsem o yi two e difa eye Ghana car one sense man for some no oje cars ni ade you want to make one say I'm waiting to electric cars. You say 2020 about 20 years no. ɛna abawomia ɛhyɛ ɛyɛ ɔmo mutwi pragya sɛ ɔmo pragya no na obiara bɔ ɔbɛma ɔmo ko as baako ɛsa na saa ɛyɛ promises no ɔmfa fele gɔmpo na kampe sɛ saa wan Ghana Ghana card no kɔbuda wit na ɔkɔgye ɛyɛ car kora ma na yɛyɛ eti wedding news a bɛtagya eti for sɛ wɔnyɛ adwenkyerɛ bi a anaa wɔne gye video yi ho a ɔbɛkɔmmɛnte wɔ comment section Facebook share ama wadamfo so ne bi ahwɛ subscribe ma yɛ ne deɛ no bo kwan so de obi bi ase so ba ɛyɛ daily update